The moment my daughter-in-law told me I wasn't really family, is the moment everything changed. Before I dive into this story, subscribe and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, because what I'm about to share might just touch your heart. My name is Marcelline Raye. I'm 58 years old. And this is the story of how one simple rejection became the most unexpected lesson about love, family, and kindness. Easter has always been my favorite time of the year. From childhood to now, it has been the day of colors, laughter, and the warmth of family gatherings. The scent of fresh flowers, the quiet hum of the oven, the soft melodies of gospel music. Easter was a celebration of life itself. This year, like every year, I had prepared my home perfectly. Fresh tulips in vases, pastel napkins neatly folded, my famous cinnamon cake cooling on the counter, and soft light streaming through the windows. Every detail mattered to me, it was tradition. All that was left was one thing, my son, Ryan, and his wife, Clara. I was certain they would come. After all, it had been our family tradition for decades. I pictured Ryan's familiar smile as he stepped through the door, the smell of his coat mixing with the aroma of my baking, and Clara chatting warmly with everyone. That was the picture I held in my heart. Then the phone call came. I was sitting on the porch, sipping a warm cup of tea, when I heard his voice. My heart lifted instantly. "Hi Mom," he said. "Are Clara's parents coming this year? I'll make extra rolls just in case." But then there was a pause. A small silence, yet heavier than any storm I'd ever felt. "Mom," his voice lowered, cautious. We might just stay home this Easter." The smile froze on my face. "Is everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Another pause. I could hear faint murmurs in the background, Clara's voice blending with his. Then Ryan sighed, heavier than his words could carry. She said you're not really her family. So staying home is easier." For a moment, it felt like the air left my lungs. I couldn't speak. I swallowed hard, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. "Okay, sweetheart. You two have a lovely Easter," I said softly. Then I hung up. The house was quiet. The smell of cinnamon and vanilla lingered, but it didn't feel like home anymore. Every plate, napkin, and decoration seemed pointless. The kitchen, once vibrant with life, felt hollow. Later that evening, my friend Hannah came over, carrying a small Easter basket. She immediately noticed my mood. "What happened?" she asked, sitting beside me. I recounted the call, every word. Hannah shook her head slowly. "Marcelline, you've done nothing but love her. How could she say something like that?" I managed a small smile. Maybe she just doesn't understand what family truly means. But I won't argue with her. Some lessons life teaches on its own. Hannah squeezed my hand. "You always take the high road, Marcelline. One day, they'll see how lucky they are." After she left, I sat by the window, watching the sunset. Down the street, children laughed. Families prepared their Sunday meals, while my house felt smaller with each passing minute. I picked up the phone multiple times, considering calling Ryan again, but I stopped. Love forced, love demanded, but I wanted peace. Not anger. Not bitterness. Just peace. Before going to bed, I walked into the kitchen one last time. My cake sat cooling, untouched, a symbol of my care and effort. I whispered, "You did your best, Marcelline. That's all anyone can do." I turned off the lights, unaware that this Easter would become unforgettable, not for the reasons I expected, but in ways that would touch everyone around me. Easter morning. I woke before sunrise. The house was eerily silent. Normally, I would be checking the oven, humming along to the radio, waiting for Ryan and Clara's car to roll into the driveway. Today, there was nothing. Only quiet. I brewed coffee and sat at the table, staring at the pastel tablecloth, the little bunny centerpiece, and the baskets I had prepared. Every item felt abandoned, waiting for people who wouldn't come. Sunlight filtered softly through the windows, but even the light seemed muted, reflecting my hollow mood. I turned on the TV, hoping some background noise would fill the emptiness. The local church's Easter service played, voices singing, Amazing Grace. I tried to sing along, but my throat tightened halfway. I shut it off and returned to silence. My phone buzzed once, maybe Ryan? But no, just a church group message. Then, a social media notification. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Clara had posted a picture. The caption read, Family Easter. Feeling blessed. The table sparkled with crystal glasses and golden plates. Clara's parents and siblings surrounded her. Ryan stood beside her. Everything was perfect. For a moment, I felt a sharp sting, not for the food, not for the table, but for the fact that I had been erased so easily. I put the phone down and tried to breathe. It hurt, but I reminded myself, bitterness is heavy, and I didn't want to carry it. Around noon, Hannah knocked on my door. She carried a plate of deviled eggs. You shouldn't eat alone, she said, smiling warmly. The first hint of life crept back into my house. I welcomed her in. She looked around the untouched table and shook her head. You really went all out, she said. I always do, I replied softly. You can't let this break you, she said. There's still joy to be found. Her words made me think. Perhaps Easter wasn't about who came to my table. Perhaps it was about who I could welcome, who I could make feel loved. I glanced around at family mementos, Ryan as a child, his painted Easter egg from years ago, my late husband's old cross. Every piece told a story. And suddenly it clicked, family isn't always blood. Family is those you welcome, those you love, those you make feel at home. With that thought, I tied on my apron. I turned on the oven and began baking again, not for Ryan and Clara, but for anyone who needed a meal, anyone who might feel forgotten today. I sent a simple message. If you don't have family today, you do now. My door is open. Within moments, I didn't know it, but this one small act would change everything. Friends, neighbors, even strangers would start showing up. My house would come alive, laughter filling every corner. And most importantly, someone was watching. The stage was set. The real Easter magic was about to begin. The morning had started painfully quiet, but as I sent out that small message, if you don't have family today, you do now. My door is open, I didn't know the ripple it would create. I didn't even realize the storm of love, chaos, and laughter I was about to invite into my home. I was still in my apron when the first knock came, a soft rapping that barely echoed through the quiet hallway. I opened the door to find Mr. Callahan, the mailman I had known for years. In his hand, a small bouquet of wildflowers. I saw your post, he stammered, his cheeks flushed with uncertainty. You said anyone alone could come, so. I smiled broadly. Then come in. Your family today. He stepped inside, and the warm aroma of cinnamon and vanilla seemed to wrap him immediately. His nervousness melted away as soon as he saw the tray of rolls cooling on the counter. This smells amazing, he whispered. Not long after, Lydia, the young grocery clerk down the street, arrived with her teenage daughter. She carried a pan of tamales, still steaming. You said open door, right? She asked, laughing nervously. Absolutely, I said. Bring all the warmth you've got. The first hints of laughter started echoing through my living room. Each arrival was like a little spark, lighting a dull, gray morning into something alive. Soon, Hannah walked in with a big bowl of potato salad. Pastor Dean appeared next, carrying his wife and another choir member. Then came Jenna, an old student of mine, holding a tray of cookies she had baked herself. My house, which had felt empty, suddenly pulsed with life. Clinking plates, cheerful chatter, and laughter mixed with the faint hum of gospel music playing softly from the radio. It was surreal. I hadn't planned any of this. I hadn't expected more than maybe a quiet cup of tea and some crumbs of cake left for myself. Yet here they were, complete strangers, friends, neighbors, and old acquaintances, all gathering under one roof, transforming my quiet kitchen into a true home. As the crowd settled, someone suggested a group photo. I laughed quietly. Why not share this joy? I said. So many people online think Easter is just fancy tables and perfect pictures. Let's show them what real love looks like. Hannah raised her eyebrows. You're not thinking of going live on Facebook, are you? I grinned. Exactly that. I set my phone on a small stand on the counter, tilted the camera, and pressed live. The screen instantly showed the room, people laughing, sharing food, passing plates, and telling stories. Hi, everyone, I said, waving at the camera. I'm Marcelline, and today I want to show you that family isn't always blood. Family is love. Family is kindness. Family is showing up for each other. Behind me are some incredible people who didn't have anywhere to go today, but now, they do. Comments started flooding in immediately. This is beautiful. Wish I could be there. You have the biggest heart, Marcelline. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her name. Clara Hayes. My stomach dropped. She was watching. Hannah noticed my expression. Everything okay? She whispered. I nodded slowly. Better than okay. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. The living room had become a warm, chaotic symphony. Mr. Callahan showed pictures of his grandchildren to Lydia's daughter. Hannah laughed with Pastor Dean over an old story from church. Jenna was helping a little boy frost a cupcake he had made himself. It struck me suddenly, this was what family really looked like. Not perfect tables, not posed pictures, not social media posts. But warmth, connection, laughter, and the small acts of care that made strangers feel like home. Halfway through the live stream, the viewer count climbed steadily. Dozens turned to hundreds. Comments poured in about how this reminded people to call their parents, reach out to neighbors, or simply be kinder. I continued to speak softly to the camera. If anyone watching feels forgotten today, know you are loved. You are seen. There is always a place for you at someone's table. And then, Clara posted a comment. Just her name, no words. But it was enough to make my heart race. Minutes passed, then another notification. I didn't need to read it fully to know it was her. She was witnessing something she had never truly understood, the love I shared freely, the care I extended without expectation. Somewhere deep in my chest, I felt a quiet victory. Not revenge. Not gloating. Just validation. Ryan was smiling beside her in a separate comment. Mom, this is incredible. I wish we could be there. My heart softened. I didn't need to chase them, convince them, or lecture them. I had lived my truth. And now, they were seeing it. The room hummed with life. The smell of baked rolls, cinnamon cake, and tamales mixed in the air. Laughter bounced off the walls. Strangers were now friends, friends were now family, and my home, once quiet and lonely, was alive with love again. And then came the first real test. A knock at the door. Louder than before. More deliberate. I paused. My heart skipped. Could it be? Should I? I walked to the door, my hands trembling slightly. There, standing in the fading sunlight, was a familiar silhouette. It was Ryan, holding a small basket of flowers and a pastel-wrapped box. Clara was behind him, her face pale, her eyes glistening with tears. I froze for a moment. The room was alive with chatter behind me, but time seemed to stop. Before either of them could knock again, I opened the door. Ryan stepped forward first, hugging me tightly. Mom, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to say it. I hugged him back, tears pricking my eyes. You don't need words. You're here. That's what matters. Clara stepped in, hesitant, still clutching the edge of her coat. For the first time, she didn't look proud or distant. She looked human. Lost. Vulnerable. "Can we come in?" she asked softly. "Of course," I said. "You're always welcome." And just like that, the quiet afternoon turned into something new. Not perfect. Not planned. But real. The rest of the guests welcomed them without question, laughter blending again with warmth. And for the first time that day, Clara's walls began to crumble. That night, as I sat at the table surrounded by plates and leftovers, I realized something powerful. Sometimes rejection is just the doorway to something far bigger. And sometimes, watching love in action teaches lessons no argument ever could. The evening had settled into a gentle calm, but my mind was anything but still. Ryan and Clara were finally inside my home, yet the tension between us lingered like a shadow. I had opened my door, shared my kitchen, my living room, my heart, but would they understand the lesson I was trying to show? Clara moved slowly around the kitchen, her eyes taking in the chaos of plates, leftover potato salad, and the slightly messy table. For someone used to perfect Instagram-worthy images, this was unsettling. Yet, it was real. I poured each of us a cup of coffee, trying to keep my voice calm. "Take a seat. You've just witnessed what happens when people show up for each other." Clara looked down, her hands folded around her mug. "It's different," she whispered. "I thought family meant perfection. Matching plates, coordinated meals, flawless photos." I smiled softly. Family isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when things aren't perfect. It's about love that grows bigger every time you share it. She nodded slowly. There was a pause, heavy with unspoken feelings. Ryan cleared his throat. "Mom, I didn't realize. I didn't see how much effort you put into this, how much love you give every single day. Seeing it like this, it's humbling." I felt a lump in my throat. I wanted to respond, but I stayed quiet. Let them feel the lesson. Let the weight of their words sink in. Outside, the sound of laughter and chatter continued. The guests had become part of something larger than themselves, a family formed not by blood, but by choice and heart. Clara finally spoke, her voice barely audible. "I was selfish. I thought excluding you would make things easier, keep everything clean. But watching the live stream, seeing all these people, strangers even, coming together because you opened your door, I felt something I didn't expect. I felt ashamed." Her confession struck me like a gentle wind, sweeping away days of tension. "Clara," I said softly, placing a hand over hers, "we all make mistakes. The important thing is that you're here now. That you see what family can truly be. And it's never too late to start showing that love." Her lips quivered, and I could see tears welling in her eyes. For the first time since meeting her, she looked vulnerable, human, not the guarded woman I'd felt distant from. Ryan reached across and took her hand. "Mom, you've reminded me of what really matters. I've been too caught up in appearances, in doing things the way everyone expects. You've shown me that love is what makes family real, not plates or decor." I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. This was why I had never let hurt define me. I had chosen love, kindness, and patience, and now, slowly, it was being reflected back. The doorbell rang again. I looked, slightly startled. At this hour? It was Mrs. Ellery, an elderly neighbor who lived alone down the street. She held a small basket of homemade muffins. "I saw your post," she said shyly. I thought, maybe I could join. I gestured for her to come in. "You're always welcome. Today, everyone is family." She entered slowly, the warmth of her presence adding another layer of comfort to the room. The sound of laughter increased, voices overlapping in joyous chaos. Children ran around, carrying cookies and tamales. Adults shared stories, joked about small disasters in the kitchen, and lifted each other's spirits. Clara watched it all with a quiet awe, her eyes wide. I realized then that the lesson she had been resisting was slowly taking root. She wasn't just observing kindness, she was feeling it, experiencing it firsthand. At one point, I saw her help a little boy frost a cupcake. He was struggling to get the icing right, smearing it across the plate. Clara laughed softly, guiding his hands, showing patience instead of frustration. In that small act, I saw her heart beginning to soften. The live stream continued in the background. Comments kept pouring in. This is what real family looks like. So inspiring. Wish my mother could see this. Somewhere deep inside, I felt a quiet satisfaction. I wasn't doing this for recognition. I wasn't trying to prove a point. I simply refused to let rejection dictate my day. And the world, somehow, had noticed. Even Ryan seemed changed. The tightness around his shoulders, the nervousness, the uncertainty, it was melting away. He laughed more freely now, sharing jokes with our guests, helping wherever he could. Clara approached me quietly later. Marcelline. I don't know if I can ever repay you. But I want to learn. I want to be part of this, not just for appearances, but for real. For love. I squeezed her hand gently. You already are part of it, Clara. Just by showing up. Just by choosing to be present. That's all it takes. The sun began to dip behind the trees outside, painting the room in a warm, golden light. Shadows danced across the walls, but inside, the glow came from laughter, warmth, and connection. For the first time that day, I felt completely at peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was real. Because people were present. Because love had triumphed over hurt, over pride, over misunderstanding. And as I glanced at my phone, hundreds of notifications blinked softly. Comments, shares, messages of gratitude from strangers, from friends, from those who had been reminded what family truly meant. Somehow, I knew this Easter wasn't just about food or decorations or tradition. It was about hearts opening. It was about forgiveness. It was about showing that love doesn't wait for permission, it grows, quietly, powerfully, in every gesture of kindness. That night, as the last guests waved goodbye, Clara lingered. Can we help you clean up? She asked, voice timid. I nodded, smiling softly. Yes. We'll do it together. And as we rolled up our sleeves, washing dishes, putting away leftovers, wiping counters, I realized something. Sometimes, the greatest lessons come not from words, but from being witnessed, from seeing love in action. Tonight, Clara's eyes had opened, Ryan's heart had shifted, and my home had become something greater than I had ever imagined. And somewhere deep down, I felt a question forming, one I knew would linger for days to come. If a small act of love can change hearts around me, how much more could it change the world if we all chose to open our doors? That evening, after Clara and Ryan had arrived, my home had already been filled with warmth and laughter. But I didn't know it yet. Tonight, Easter was going to surprise me even more. The doorbell rang again. I paused, wiping my hands on a dish towel. At this hour? I didn't expect anyone else. I opened the door to find a young man holding a small, scruffy dog. His clothes were worn, and his eyes were tired but hopeful. I saw your post, he said softly. I don't have anywhere to go today, and neither does he. He patted the dog gently. I knelt down, smiling. Come in. You both are family now. The dog wagged its tail furiously, and the young man stepped inside, the tension in his shoulders beginning to fade. Ryan and Clara watched quietly, observing, but I could see their surprise growing. Soon, another knock. This time, it was Mrs. Patel, a woman from a neighboring apartment building. She brought a basket of homemade samosas. I didn't want to be alone, she said. And I saw your message. My living room was beginning to overflow. People I hadn't expected were arriving. Strangers, neighbors, people I had only smiled at briefly in passing, all drawn together by one simple, open invitation. Clara's eyes widened. She whispered to Ryan, I didn't know this was possible. So many people, all here, because of her. I overheard her and smiled softly. She was beginning to understand, family isn't measured by blood, by traditions, or by appearances. It's measured by heart. The laughter and chatter grew louder. Children ran in every direction, chasing each other with baskets of candy. Adults shared stories and recipes, some strangers meeting for the first time, and yet, a sense of connection formed naturally, almost magically. Hannah leaned toward me. "Marcelline, look at this. Your little message, it's changed everything." I nodded quietly, watching Ryan assist a young mother with her toddler. Clara helped carry plates to the table, her earlier hesitation replaced with a genuine smile. Then came a knock that made my stomach flutter. A large car pulled up outside. Standing on the porch were two older women, holding a small cardboard box. Inside were dozens of hand-painted Easter eggs. "We live down the street," one of them said. "We saw your post, and we thought maybe we could add a little color to your celebration." I invited them in, and soon their eggs were being placed carefully on the table. Children's eyes lit up as they admired the delicate patterns. Even Clara bent down, fascinated by the designs. By now, the house was completely alive. The aroma of baked rolls, cinnamon cake, tamales, and samosas mingled in the air. Laughter bounced off the walls. Stories were shared. Strangers became friends, friends became family. I looked around, realizing something incredible. Ryan, who had been distant and distracted earlier in the day, was now laughing freely, helping wherever he could. Clara had softened completely, showing genuine care to everyone around her. And me. I felt lighter than I had in weeks, as if all the hurt, rejection, and doubt had melted into this moment of pure, unplanned joy. I glanced at my phone. Hundreds of notifications were pouring in from the live video. People were sharing it, commenting, thanking me for reminding them that family isn't always blood, that kindness can change a day, a heart, or even a life. Somewhere deep inside, I realized this. One small act, one open door, one message, had created a ripple that was far bigger than I ever imagined. The night grew darker outside, but inside, the glow was electric. The children's laughter continued, the adults shared stories and jokes, and the sense of belonging filled every corner. It wasn't about fancy meals or perfect decorations anymore. It was about presence, heart, and connection. Clara approached me quietly, her eyes glistening with tears. I understand now. I've been wrong. I thought love was shown through perfection. But it's not. It's shown through patience, generosity, and presence. You've taught me something I'll never forget." I reached for her hands. "Clara, love grows bigger the more you share it. Today, you've experienced that firsthand. You're part of this family now, not because you had to be, but because you chose to be." Ryan hugged her gently. "Mom, watching you today, seeing everyone, how you care for strangers as if they were family. I can't believe I didn't see it before. You've taught me more about what it means to love than I could have imagined." Outside, I could hear the faint sound of church bells. Easter had officially arrived, but my celebration had been nothing like I expected. The lesson wasn't in the tradition or the perfectly set table, it was in the hearts that came together, in the laughter and connection, in the shared joy. Hannah whispered beside me, "Marcelline, this is bigger than any of us imagined." I smiled quietly, watching Ryan and Clara assist others, laughter bouncing through the room. I realized something profound. Love doesn't wait to be invited. It doesn't need permission. It grows naturally, quietly, and when you allow it, it can change everything. By the end of the evening, the house was a happy kind of chaos. Empty plates, crumbs of cake, and half-finished decorations littered the counters and tables. The room was messy, yes, but in that mess was the story of connection, of hearts opened, and of kindness multiplied. As I finally sank into a chair, exhausted but peaceful, I sent one final message to the live stream viewers. Thank you for spending this Easter with us. If you've ever felt forgotten, know this: there's always a place for you at someone's table. And love can always find its way home. Easter morning had started quietly, but by nightfall, my house had transformed into a beacon of laughter, warmth, and unexpected connections. I had witnessed something magical, the power of an open door, a kind word, and the willingness to love without expecting anything in return. By the time the last guests waved goodbye, the house was a gentle chaos of leftover dishes, scattered napkins, and crumbs of carrot cake. But the air was heavy, not with emptiness, but with the memory of shared moments, smiles, and warmth. Ryan and Clara lingered, hesitant to leave. I poured 3 cups of coffee, and we sat together, the soft hum of the remaining lights reflecting in their eyes. "I still can't believe this," Clara said softly. "I thought I knew everything about family, but, watching all these people, strangers even, come together. I feel like I've been blind all along." I nodded. Family isn't about being perfect or having everything match. It's about showing up, giving love, and being present. Today, you've witnessed that firsthand. Ryan reached across and held Clara's hand. "Mom, you've reminded me what really matters. Not just for me, but for everyone I know. Your message, your actions, it's changed more than just our little family. I see it now. Love isn't about appearances, it's about heart." I felt tears prick my eyes. The lesson I had tried to share, gently, patiently, was finally sinking in. Clara's guarded walls had softened completely, replaced by genuine warmth. Ryan's eyes shone with understanding and humility. The phone buzzed. I glanced at it, more messages from people who had watched the live stream. Strangers thanking me for reminding them to call their loved ones, to check on neighbors, to spread kindness. Some messages were from people who had been alone today, invited by my simple words. "I can't believe anyone would do this. I feel like I have family again." And then I saw it, a notification from someone unexpected, Clara's parents. They had watched the live stream and sent a message saying, "We didn't realize what we were missing. Thank you for showing our daughter what love looks like." I breathed deeply. The ripple of kindness had reached farther than I ever imagined. Later, we cleaned up the kitchen together. Clara carefully stacked plates, Ryan wiped down the counters, and I rinsed dishes. It was quiet, but peaceful. No awkward tension, no bitterness. Only connection, shared effort, and laughter in the small moments. Clara paused and looked around. "I think I understand now," she said softly. "I thought family was something you were given. But it's something you choose, something you show through actions every single day." I smiled gently. Exactly. Family grows bigger the more love you give. And sometimes, the people you least expect become the most important. Ryan nodded. "Mom, you didn't just teach me about love today. You've shown me the power of opening your heart, even when you're hurt. That's a lesson I'll never forget." I leaned back in my chair, exhausted but light. The dishes were done, the leftovers stored, and the house was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't heavy silence. It was the calm after a storm of love, a silence full of possibility. Clara lingered by the window, looking at the stars. "Marcelline, thank you. Not just for today, but for showing me what it truly means to be family. I don't want to forget this lesson." "You won't," I said softly. "Just remember, love isn't about being noticed. It's about acting with kindness, whether anyone sees it or not. That's what makes it real." Ryan smiled, a quiet warmth in his eyes. "So, what happens next?" I looked around the room at the remnants of a day I never expected. Empty plates, crumbs, flowers wilting slightly but still beautiful. A house filled with memories now, not just furniture. I realized the answer wasn't in planning, not in tradition, not in expectations. It was in the small, quiet acts of love that had brought all together. "Next," I said, "we keep living this way. Open doors, open hearts, and kindness without condition. That's how love finds its way home, again and again." Clara smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across her face. I think I understand. And I want to be part of it. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Ryan nodded. I think we all do. The night outside was still and quiet, the stars bright against the dark sky. I looked around at the remnants of today, at the warmth in the room, at the hearts I had been privileged to witness. And I realized something important. Life isn't measured by perfect holidays or flawless moments captured in photos. It's measured by how much love you share, how many hearts you touch, and the courage to keep showing up, even when it's hard. I poured one last cup of coffee and held it to my chest, thinking of all the people who had joined me today, neighbors, strangers, old friends, and family. I whispered to myself, this is what Easter is for. And then a thought formed, soft but insistent. If one open door and a little kindness can change hearts and lives today, imagine what would happen if every day we chose to act with this kind of love? I didn't know the answer yet. But I smiled, because I knew one thing for sure, love always finds its way home.